Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Build Your Best Life. I'm super excited today to have a new guest on, Mr. RJ Stevenson. How are you this evening?
Hey, Coach Smith, how you doing? Glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to your space tonight.
Oh, thank you. You're very, very welcome. Well, thank you all for tuning in because you could have been anywhere else, but you decided to join us here on Build Your Best Life. Brittany, how are you today? Thank you for tuning in. Angela, I'm so glad to have you here. As always, it's a pleasure when I can communicate with you. But we want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. You know, without you and the prayers that you cover Build Your Best Life with and your likes, comments, and shares, hey, we may not even be here. So we thank you. We appreciate all of that. We have a great topic here for you today. So get ready, get relaxed, and get ready to enjoy. You know, this is the beginning of August, and this month, our theme is Blueprint for Next Level Education. And when I say education, I know the mind immediately goes to books and that type thing, but education is anything that you can learn. You can learn wisdom, you can learn basic principles. So that next level education is a lot that you can learn. So we are super excited to have you here. So we want to start out with RJ telling us all about himself.
Wow, I'm gonna keep it short. My name is RJ Stevenson. I'm originally from Goldsboro, North Carolina. I have gone from Goldsboro to Greenville, East Carolina University for undergrad. Then following that, I went to Woodbridge, Virginia for a couple of years, came back to Goldsboro, went to Raleigh, left Raleigh and went to Arkansas. When I went to Arkansas, I went as the vice president of institutional advancement, planning and technology at Shorter College. Shorter College is the nation's only 2-year private HBCU. Went there, helped to revitalize that campus. Then in 2017, relocated to Tampa, Florida. Went there as the executive pastor of Allen Temple AME Church, the largest AME church in that city. And then became the pastor of New St. Paul AME Church in 2019. And now I am in flux, sort of traveling in between a whole lot of different spaces. I've relocated back to North Carolina to open a film studio and production studio. I'm doing a lot of audio, video, and lighting installations across the country, and planning on a new phase of life that we'll get into a little while when we start talking deeper about education, because it all sort of flows in together. So I'm really excited about this topic, and thank you again for having me here.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. Yes, I love talking about education and anything that can help our young men. So I know this is going to be a great topic. And so our topic today is actually learning to live, learn, and work in a complex world. You know, there is so much going on in the world today. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good, but you know, life is life. But we have increase in the divorce rate. We have more single parent families than ever before. Many mental health issues are plaguing people. Hey, who would have thought that we would have had a pandemic some years ago? Then we have, you know, people that just wake up, I think, and want to know, well, what can I do bad today? So we have people that think nothing of robbing, committing murder, scamming, bullying. Bias is as strong as it was 200 years ago or more. So it is a complex world. Even with the technology and having to learn that, we have a lot of complexities around. So, RJ, you know, many feel that they don't need to learn anything else once they finish high school or maybe a higher learning institution, that's it. But what do you think is essential to have a fighting chance in a complex world?
Uh, my answer is gonna be very interesting because of the way I was raised, right? So my parents, Linwood and Cassandra Stevenson, uh, founded the Christian Supply Store 43 years ago in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Because of that, I've never seen my parents work a job where someone else told them where to be, someone else told them what time to come to work, what time to get off, when they could take vacation, when they couldn't take vacation. I've always known my parents as entrepreneurs. My father was a bishop and a pastor of a church. My mother has always, for the entire time I've remembered, being the facilitator or the operator of our family's bookstore. So working means something different for me, especially from the perspective of entrepreneurship. So my work tradition or my work regimen is a lot different from other people because I don't go to work every day to work. I go to work every day to live, right? Because as an entrepreneur, I sort of I only get to enjoy what I conquer. Meaning, if we were in a different time of life, we say we eat what we kill, right? So the
Mhm.
only way that I am certain about how life is going to be sustained, where provision is going to come from, is for me to get out of bed on a daily basis and make some things happen that everybody else does not necessarily experience on a day-to-day basis, right? So my work day is not what's considered banker's hours. I don't have an 8 to 5. I have a 12 to 12 to 12. I have a get up in the morning at whatever time I need to get up based on what's being required of me for my day. Whether
Right.
that be working with clients in Africa, whether it be working with clients in Dubai, depending on what is ahead of me, I am hyper task oriented. So I live and breathe by my calendar. I don't write, I type everything. My thumbs get their due diligence with text messages all day long. And I don't have. I was one of those people. I don't know. If a lot of people remember when I was in school. I remember there was a test that they gave us before the ASVAB. Like I remember taking the ASVAB in high school. But when I was really young, we took another test, like a personality type test, and it
Mm.
asked the question whether or not you prefer to go to work doing the same thing every day, right? And that question always drove me nuts because I could not imagine waking up and living out the Groundhog Day movie. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
woke up this morning, I knew where my shoes was. I knew what shirt and tie I was going to put on. I drove the same direction to work every day. I knew what my routine was going to be. And to me, that felt a little bit more robotic than life. I desire to have a different experience every day. I desire to have different conversations with different people on a daily basis. And so because of that, I keep life exciting. Sometimes I may even it could be perceived as a bad habit, but I may even procrastinate on some projects because I know how I manage my stress, you know. And sometimes working on some projects that have a smaller timeline causes me to be more proactive and get more work done faster. So by managing it, not procrastinating, but managing my time with a shorter time window, I'm able to get a lot more done when it comes to my regimen of multitasking. Um, I think of life a little bit differently, right?
Mhm.
I'm always looking for the more abundantly part about life. We grow up learning about the rules. We grow up learning about the boundaries, trying to find the balance. But a lot of us don't ever get into the habit of seeking the more abundantly of life. And
That's right.
so, there's a lot of people who don't really intend to enjoy life until they're retired. Based on the way I live, I'm gonna take something from Coach Ricardo. I want to live a life that I don't have to take a vacation from. I got
All
to give
right.
him credit for that one. But I want to wake up on a daily basis and enjoy it all from the beginning of it to the end. Today did not turn out the way I intended. I am not in my home studio. I'm not in my office or my production studio. I am in a church, and I'm in this church because I ended up having to crawl under this church today to do some installation stuff, and I was not intending on getting in the mud today. I'm in Durham, North Carolina today. We have flash flood warnings all over the place because of the tropical storm, and I found myself crawling through the mud under a church. And it's
Wow.
just I didn't wake up like this. But
Mhm.
because I enjoy what I do, it's not a problem. And
Right.
I find the excitement of being able to look at a challenge and make the best of it and learn the most I can while I'm going through the challenge. These days, I find myself um, working to correct what everybody else messed up, and so that brings its own level of challenges.
Right.
But I love it. I wake up every day looking forward to do more of it every day.
All right. Well, I might throw some of mine your way. That's awesome. Well, still think that it takes a village. That's a phenomenon I don't think will ever go away.
Right.
Um, but not everyone thinks that way. Not everyone, wants that assistance, or if they do, they are too timid or afraid to ask for it. But there is always, again, according to Coach Ricardo Miller, there is always someone assigned to assist you.
Mhm.
So, what was the most significant aha moment you had that made you realize what was most needed to live and learn in today's world? And sounds like you kind of already answered that, but
Um, my aha moment was um as a senior in college, getting ready to go into my senior year, and my father got sick and had renal failure. Um, I was a ROTC cadet, contracted cadet, meaning I was one semester from a military career as an officer. Had gone to West Point, and I had gone with West Point to Fort Knox, Kentucky, to do some specialized training to become a tank commander. Had performed really well that summer. And for a lot of ROTC cadets, we know that the military is getting ready to teach us anything we need to know about life. And we really don't care what our major is in college. And so I chose economics because, as an entrepreneur from my family, I always felt like it was necessary to understand money and currency and understand how it is made, how it flows, how it matriculates. Uh, but I had a surprise in life. My dad got sick, and I was the one person in the family with the right blood type. I'm adopted from birth, and I just happened to be adopted into the right family for the right purpose and reason. And as my dad was having a sensitive life circumstance, God blessed me with some O positive. Uh, in that situation, I chose to literally lay down on the table, not knowing whether or not I would get back up. And in that moment, I found purpose. Um, and the first chapter book I ever read in my life as a child was Understanding Your Potential by Dr. Miles Monroe. I mean, I was a kid who had a family with a bookstore. Of course, I had some interesting book choice selections. But that moment brought everything full circle for me at the time, at an early age. And I recognized that if I were to be allowed to get back up off that table, that it was not of any effort of my own, that there was a plan and a purpose for my life. And from that moment on, I just see things differently. You made the statement about it takes a village to raise a child, and as I've delved into a lot of children's ministry, um, and a lot of community organization and activism, one thing that I consistently see lacking is the sense of community. Growing up, we sort of went to church in the community where we lived. Now everybody pretty much drives to the church of their choice. Growing up, not everyone had access to vehicles. Now children turn 16 years old and get upset if they don't have one. Growing up, I remember walking to school every day from the sixth to eighth grade. Now, some states, some cities, kids get on city buses to get bused to schools. When there's a school right down the street from their house, they get bused miles away to a different school. And to me, all of those elements break down on the fabric of community. It used to be the case that anybody on your block could call you out for doing something wrong as a child, deal with you, discipline you, call your mama and tell your mom and daddy, and your mom and daddy gonna deal with you when you get home because they embarrassed that a neighbor had to get you, right? Nowadays, you say something to someone, to a parent about their child, and their response is quite different. The sense of community really does not exist anymore. And I don't think there's enough of us doing something about it to bring it back. And because this generation has really never experienced it, I don't think it's something that anyone's fighting for. Not long ago, I started an organization called Rock the Block, which was centered on reconditioning our communities, because I saw young kids getting off the bus ready to fight in their own neighborhood. I recognized during George Floyd in Tampa, we were marching through our neighborhood after we called the city to get permission to gather. I'm like, what kind of protest is that for you to walk around your own community when the people whose attention you're trying to get don't even live over here? So in essence, the message that we were trying to convey was still not heard by the individuals who were called to make a difference, So for me, it's just that tone of community, and having had the opportunity to continue living another 20 some years after the kidney transplant, it sort of tempered my life and my mentality to do something about it. So that was my life-changing moment that sort of brought me to the point where as I knew that there was more to do in life.
I love that. I love that. Love that. And like you say, people don't have an urgency to do something. Like you say, you're gonna, you have that desire to do it, but people don't have that urgency because you get a different perspective when you say something. That doesn't sound like my child. Okay.
Yes,
But, I mean, but whatever God gives you to dress and to work on as your purpose, your passion, you go after that. And if it only helps one child or one single mom, it's worth it, I think. So, that's why we're here with Build Your Best Life, because I want to see change. If it's not much, change for the better. And
Yeah, I think your topic, I don't think we should brush by it. Learning to live, learn, and work. Think about it. Learning to live. We just went through a pandemic. A lot of us are still trying to figure it out, right? A lot of families are trying to figure out their pattern. A lot of people had to make different choices and decisions about their employment and lifestyle changes. So a lot of us are still trying to learn how to live. I see confusion every day when a person shows up in Lowe's today with a mask on, and it's like, oh yeah, we did go through a pandemic. Oh yeah, the numbers aren't going down either. Oh yeah, we still got to be careful about how we live.
right.
Learning to learn. Like, you wouldn't imagine how much people are depending already on technology, right? It was already an interesting thing to have digital devices, but now we've even gone further to let the computers think more for us on purpose, right? So,
Right.
People have to learn how to learn. I mean, you think about it. How much more will we have to be intentional about teaching study skills to young people? My daughter, my oldest daughter, she just turned 18 on Sunday, and she's getting ready to go to North Carolina Central University. And I cannot imagine what her college experience is going to be like and compare it to mine. Like, it was weird for us to, when I got to college, it was like, okay, you can use a calculator. And I was like, what? They're going to let me use it for real? They're going to let me bring it to class? Because I remember going through school, having the calculator, but the teacher being implicit about show your work. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, you gonna let me use a calculator? And she's grown up with the calculator from day number one. And then learning how to work. Like, what would this next generation, like, their work ethic does not exist. Like, they play games. They play games all day. Like, their understanding of having to go get a job, that's not what they see on television. So that's not a reality to a lot of them. A lot of them, they just think that you snap your fingers and things appear. And that's just not a realistic perspective. And I'm praying for them, because I don't know how well we've prepared them for what life really is about. I know that things are drastically changing and things are drastically evolving, but I think kids should still learn how to snap butter beans.
Right. It's like Build Your Best Life, because I teach basic principles. Basic principles never go away. And there are just some things that they're not taught. They cut a lot of stuff out in school.
Right.
But then if they're not taught at home, they don't know. And you don't know what you don't know till you find out that you don't know, right? Absolutely. So if somebody is not teaching our young men how to respect themselves, how to respect young ladies, how to open those doors, how to do different things, like as you stated, everything is just so different. I look at I have a granddaughter, she's going to 4th this year, but like last year, she was, and it seems like all at the same time, she went from multiplication, division, fractions. I'm like, huh, what? I was doing that in what grade? Middle school, high school, and they have to know all these things. So it's just so totally different. But not only with the education and the knowledge, but all the basic things that they need to know as well. Who's taking the time to teach them and show them? Lost world. And before I forget, I just want to say, I feel like we're kindred spirits. I'm adopted as well.
Really?
Yes.
It is
Yeah,
a
so
different. It's a different lifestyle. It's a different way of thinking. It's a different approach to communication, to relationships, and I have recently endeavored to sort of try to find my biological family, and I'm 45, and as a 45-year-old, I'm finally realizing exactly how different I am and how different I process situations and circumstances. Um, you know, uh, whew, uh, learning how the trauma of rejection sort of always becomes a thing. And then when you look back at circumstances and you try to realize or figure out why you reacted to it that way, and then you can say, you can, like, once you've done your work, you can say, you know what, that was me. But the way I process information a lot of times is a lot different from other people. The way I view and have expectations and anticipations about family is different,
mhm.
because I don't take those situations or circumstances for granted. I'm appreciative of community. I'm appreciative of relationships. I'm appreciative of friendships. I'm appreciative of family. And the older I get, the more appreciative I am, because I realize that whoever my 14-year-old mother was didn't have to give me a chance.
Right.
And looking at the way our world has been shaped today, I don't know that if 2024 brought the same challenges as 1979, that my mother would have been a better decision to give me a chance.
Right.
I often wonder what it cost her to make that decision, and how life would be different for her if she hadn't. And then, just being thankful on a daily basis that I've been afforded this amazing opportunity just to have a chance to live. It's something that I don't take for granted.
All right. Yep. And God doesn't make any mistakes. So
Yes, ma'am.
we're here. Yes. So RJ, see now, never mind. I'll tell you later. Beyond structured education, what are some other key learning opportunities? And you mentioned some of them, but what are key learning opportunities?
So, let me see. Out of undergrad, one of the most memorable job experiences I had was serving as a firefighter for the Goldsboro Fire Department in my home community. And I did not realize that even though firefighters didn't have to have a college education. At that time, you only had to have graduated from high school. But a part of the entrance exam was that you had to pass the college entrance exam. And here I am as a college graduate from East Carolina University, and I got to take a college entrance exam, right? I did not realize that firefighters go to school. Like, of course, you got fire academy, but literally going to community college courses to learn thermodynamics, to learn fluid hydraulics, to learn building construction, to learn ventilation, to learn friction loss and algebra. I mean, I was definitely one of those kids that was like, why we gotta learn these equations? Why we gotta learn this algebra stuff? This does not make sense. I didn't do too well in algebra in college. It was business algebra, so they didn't have no numbers. You sort of had to know the equations and how to apply them all. I didn't do too well. I failed college algebra 4 times. I failed it 4 times because it was a pass or fail type class, because it was a common core for my degree. But I passed calculus in summer school with an A. So I was like, this is weird, right? But getting to the fire department and realizing how much what we would call blue collar jobs, or how much service jobs really have to have a strong amount of education, When I went to Fire Academy, we did Fire Academy and EMT at the same time. And learning, I mean, I hated biology in college, right? But learning about the body and how anatomy works and have how to use it to be able to save someone's life. If they had told me that biology, understanding biology could help me save somebody's life, I probably would have paid a lot more attention, right? But I was not interested in elephants and all that kind of stuff. But you know, I have now, I told you I was going to talk about this before. I am now enrolled in a general contractors prep course to get my general contractor's license. Uh, I didn't know that I was interested in building construction until I got in the fire department, right? And so an opportunity at the fire department, I'm thinking I'm just putting out fire. I didn't think I was going to learn about truss construction and framing buildings and foundation and all that kind of stuff. But that experience sparked something different. And, you know, me having interest in now building construction and residential houses and that kind of stuff, you know, it's like I learned a love for education all over again, because now I don't see education as a task, you know. Now I see education as something that unlocks possibilities. I see education as an opportunity for me now, you know, having a general contracting business opens a whole nother world in terms of what kind of house I can have, what kind of buildings I can buy, what kind of land I can participate in developing, what kind of assets I can acquire. I mean, you know, but if you had asked me when I was in high school, would I be interested in getting a general contractor's license? I'd be like, for what? Absolutely not. Like, I'm not going to be. But you know, sometimes if you allow yourself to be a lifelong learner, you'll realize that you learn things on a daily basis. I remember my father sending me outside to change the oil on our car. One, it was nerve-wracking because I didn't want to get it wrong, right?
Right.
Two, it was nerve-wracking because he only showed me how to do it one time. That's the kind of dad I had, right? But three, it was very it brought another tone of a level of confidence at the fact that he felt like I could do it.
Mm.
And one day I was having a conversation with somebody, and they asked me what is it that you can't do. I was like, you know what, I don't know, because my parents never told me that there was something that I couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being adopted, you sort of never know what's inside of you, and you don't find out until something just happens, and ooh, I can play the piano, or ooh, I can sing, or ooh, I can draw. And you know, I didn't have the most artistic family in my household. So, you know, me being able to do these things was sort of weird because I didn't really have anybody I could go ask and say, hey, can you show me how to? Or hey, can you teach me how to? Because that just was not in their skill set, right?
Right.
Um, and so for me, it's just, you know, it's been a lifelong journey of finding out what is it that I can do? Is there anything that I can't do? And I ain't never been told that there's something that I can't do, so I might as well try to do all of it, you know.
Right. Hey.
Yes, do all the things, as they say. Yes, ma'am.
Right. Well, yeah, this is funny. At my age, when I worked in corporate America for 41 years, and I was at an insurance company, and I was the type of employee I wanted to get my work done, and then I wasn't just going to sit around. I was going to try to find something to do, learn something, a different technique for something. So we got the first computer in our department. So I was
Wow.
like, shoot, I'm gonna go learn how to use this thing. So I finally figured out it wasn't gonna blow up on me. So I mean, the only thing it was gonna do was beat. So I was actually the first one to learn how to use a computer in our department.
Right. You know,
And
it's interesting how before the pandemic, we saw a whole population of older adults afraid of social media, right?
Right.
And it just clued to me that in their generation, they were afraid of a computer.
Mhm.
They would have never picked up a cell phone. So, as generations evolve, we evolve because we're able to have a deeper experience because of the information that the previous generations have learned. But the
Right.
fear is the same, it's just applied to a different thing, you know.
Right.
Now this next generation is going to be afraid of AI, right? But
Yes.
it's the same thing of being afraid of a computer, being afraid of the phone that talks to you. Because I remember when Siri started talking and all that kind of stuff, people used to freak out because they're like, why is my phone talking? I don't want my phone to talk. Stop listening to me. Stop watching me.
Ah.
And now, we put devices in our house now to purposely watch each other, So it's interesting how the world continues to evolve and how we continue to learn. Now I remember watching the Jetsons. I remember watching the cartoon of the car that drove itself. And now we look around and there's Teslas all over the place. You don't
Right.
know whether or not the person in the car is actually driving or not. I mean, it's an amazing time to be alive,
It
right?
is.
And
It
you can either crumble under the unknown, or you can embrace it and learn all you can. I love it when I see succession happen well, not just in corporate environments, but in communities. I love seeing um, more mature generations hand down information to youthful generations.
Yes.
It sort of tools into the scripture saying about how we need the older generation for their wisdom and the younger generation for their energy. But I think that one of our strongest challenges is finding value for each other,
Each other.
um, finding a bridge over the differences so that we can be focused on what we have in common. So it's great to see all the new innovations, but somebody got to know how to cook. It's great to know all the new technology, but can you look a person in the eye and shake their hand? You know,
Yeah.
being from North Carolina in the Bible Belt and moving to Arkansas and then to Florida showed me a strong difference and contrast in how people live and how they
Mm.
learn and what they've learned as morals and ethics and customs. Coming from North Carolina, I wouldn't dare walk by someone and not speak to them because that's just what we do here. Man,
Mm-hmm.
in Florida, you better mind your own business. you
Hello.
you know, you don't know who you get ready to speak to. You don't know what they think about you. You don't know what neighborhood they live in, and you don't know what person you remind them of that you get ready to strike up a trigger of trauma. So it's. I'm glad to be back in North Carolina because people speak to each other here, but this North Carolina is a little bit different from the North Carolina I left. It's almost like the Wizard of Oz. Dorothy came back home, but home ain't quite like it was before she left. Um, and we have an interesting world climate. We have an interesting political climate in our nation, and it, very soon we're going to see who had their eyes and ears open so they could learn. And we're going to see if we're able to capitalize on the lessons that we should have been learning all along that would have prepared us for where our nation is going, you know?
All right. Yep. But you always hitting on something that I think of constantly, like you're talking about the difference in uh the states and how people speak and how they don't speak. But see, I was always raised, you speak to any and everybody, and you don't have to, pause or anything. You just speak and you can keep it moving. And I work in children's ministry. And so now I'm trying to teach them because I'm like, okay, I guess they don't speak at their house. They come in and they just, I make them go back up, go back out the door. So now they know when I say go back out the door, what that means.
Yep.
They gotta come back in. They gotta speak. No, you gotta speak. I don't know what y'all doing at your house. When you come up in here, y'all gonna say good morning.
Well, isn't it interesting that church and school and community was supposed to be something that reinforced what you learned at home? And now it's almost like kids come out of the house and have to learn how to be sociable in the community because ain't nobody talking in the house.
Nobody talking.
Uh,
They just doing
ain't-
this.
we're not eating together no more at night. Everybody eating Uber whenever they feel like it. You know, it's and if I'm talking about trying to build community out here in the streets, you need to build community at home.
Right. Yes, you are so true. That is so true. And if you just joined us, we are talking about learning how to live, work, and get along in a complex world. It's just, you got to do some things. You got to continue to learn. The world is not stopped. It was always revolving and rotating, but it's coming up with new technology, new information, new words, new everything. So you can't just stop because you can get run over. You got to keep it moving.
Yes.
So, here at Build Your Best Life, we believe in training early, because if you don't train early and work with, and I'm specifically right now talking about our young men, it's for everybody, but our young men, what's going to happen? You have to try to fix things later, and we don't want that to happen. So you need to work together. If it's somebody that you can mentor, somebody that you can, call, get into your space and all of that. We need to work and help people because, like I said earlier, sometimes you don't know what you don't know till you find out that you didn't know. But if we try to assist others and help others, we got a better chance.
In Tampa, I was a part of this annual event called Sons in Suits. It's by this organization called Bubba. I was pleased to be a board member there, and I didn't know how many kids and adults didn't know how to put on dress clothes. Like I'm a preacher's kid, so day one, a major moment for me was when I could stand in front of a mirror and tie my own tie. I ain't wearing no baby clip-ons no more. I'm tying a tie. And I'm watching young kids who are 16, 17, 18 years old putting on a dress shirt for the first time in their life. I'm watching kids 16, 17, 18 years old finding out what it means to have a jacket that fits, not having a jacket that's handed down by somebody else, but actually, tailored to your shoulders, and where the sleeve on the jacket needs to break with the sleeve on the shirt, and I'm like, wow, what an amazing life I've had, that as a child, my mom and dad were dressing me up in clothes to go to church. What an amazing life I've had, that as a child, I knew what it was like to go to a restaurant and sit at the table and not be confused about what fork to pick up.
All right.
Knowing that when I go to a restaurant, I should first take that napkin and put it in my lap before I start eating. It's like looking at society and social norms now. There's an amazing gap between where we are and where we've come from, and unless we do some work, I don't see the gap getting any closer. Because now, you're in Florida, there are paramount books that these children do not get to read. There are books like Their Eyes Were Watching God that they will never know about unless somebody does something on purpose. They'll never know the anxiety of writing a Y or a Z in cursive. I mean, because that was anxiety, And so, the very simple things that we may have taken for granted are getting ready to be like things of the past and relics for future generations unless we decide to do something different. There was a young man in Fayetteville, North Carolina, that he had good grades all year long, was on the honor roll, and at the end of the year, his teacher chose not to report her grades on time, and he was not included in the honor roll list at his school. And so I found out about it because we were watching on Facebook or something, and his grandma was going in. And I was like, that is so crazy how we as a community are depending on school systems that are not making favorable choices for our kids all year long to celebrate our children in the end. I was like, why haven't we as a community figured out yet that we need to celebrate our kids for us? Why do we still expect for people who don't take the time? I mean, when I was growing up, there was no such thing as ADHD when I was growing up. You were just hyperactive, you were slow, you need to be on Ritalin, and you walked around looking like a zombie all day. It's the same, but it's the same ism that we're dealing with now with kids being diagnosed with ADD and ADHD because they're not being able to pay attention or not being able to engage in the classroom. And a lot of it ain't got nothing to do with the kid being able to engage. It has all to do with the teacher not being creative enough to capture the child's attention. And so it's like, it's the same struggle wrapped in a different cloth, but somehow we've still not figured out the answer. And I don't think that as a Black man, a white female could have done the best job in preparing me for what I needed to know in life. So if I had not had strong models of what a Black man was supposed to be and how a Black man was supposed to show up in a room and how a Black man was supposed to have dignity outside of what I saw on television, I would not have become the Black man I am. And so because I am aware that it took that for me, it's my responsibility now to make certain that I avail myself for other young Black men so that our generations won't continue to be lost. We have to take the responsibility on ourselves to do something.
All right. You're going to have to come back because see, even, hey, you meeting someone, don't look down.
Right.
Look them in their eyes. Look straight in their eyes. Tell these kids you're being bullied. Those kids, they're not any braver than you are, but they find the weakest link. So if they look at you and you look away, we got us one now. When they look at you, look back at them. When you shake somebody's hand, you want to give them a firm handshake. But somebody's got to teach them that.
Right.
Right. Oh, so yeah, you got to come back. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. So can you please give our audience some tips on how being open, and you've been doing this all along, but you probably still got some nuggets for us. How being open to continuous learning, even in a complex world, will assist young men in building their best lives?
Well, the first tip is a major tip for me. I was never allowed to give the answer, I don't know. When you respond to someone with the words, I don't know, you absolve yourself of being the solution or finding the answer. Ooh. I'm gonna say it again. When you use the reason or excuse of I don't know, you absolve yourself of the solution, of being the solution or finding the answer. That is anti-learning, right? And so if there's something that you don't know, it only takes a little time to pull out that thing that we used to use called a dictionary or I remember the World Book Encyclopedia. They don't know nothing about that no more, right? Uh,
Uh-uh.
to find the answer to life's questions, right? It
Right.
is so easy to give the answer I don't know, but individuals who are willing to find the solution, those are the ones that people continue to ask the solutions of. That's my number one tip. Number
Mm,
two tip is do your best to identify your potential and bridge your potential until you find purpose. Do your best to realize your potential and bridge your potential until you find purpose. Um, if you don't understand what potential is, you'll wake up every day without a plan.
mm,
If you don't understand what potential is, you can never understand what exceeding abundant is, because potential says that my level best is to succeed. I can't succeed in exceeding abundantly if I don't at least pass the test, if I don't at least answer the question, right? And so, in searching for my potential, once I start to identify my potential, then I'm on the road to discovering purpose, right? Because purpose
mhm.
is wrapped up in your potential, right? Ephesians 3 and 20, I'm a preacher, I gotta do it. Ephesians 3 and 20 says, now to him who's able to do, watch this, exceeding abundantly in excess above all I can ask, think, or imagine, according to the power that worketh in me. That means that power has been put on the inside of me. That's number one. So it's not the fact that I don't have any worth or any value. I'm actually pretty powerful, right? But the only limitation in my life has to do with what I ask or think. If I can't ask it or think it, then I will never be able to do it.
Hmm.
So God can only work through me at the level that I'm willing to ask or think. And he's put the power on the inside of me to help me realize anything that I ask or think. So the limitation in my life has all to do with whether I was willing to ask the question or whether I was willing to think through the solution, right?
Mm.
So the only way for me to live my life where I can learn how to live, learn, and work is to be willing to ask the questions and to be willing to think through the solutions so that God can work his power out in my life as he helps me to become the solution.
All right. Say that. All right. Well, thank you for those tips. And thank you for dropping all these nuggets that you have given us today. I don't know about the rest of them, but I picked up a lot of nuggets. And I know if there's someone out there and you say, hey, I wish someone could have gotten this information, please share it. It's not too late. It's never going to go away. It's going to be out there on YouTube and Facebook, Build Your Best Life with Deborah G. Smith. Please share, share, share. Because, like I said earlier, sometimes you don't know what you don't know till it hits you in the face and you see it. So, share the information. We appreciate that. And before I go on, you want to tell everyone how they can, you're doing so much, how they can reach you and get some of your content.
Sure. My name is RJ Stevenson. You can find me as RJ Stevenson on any platform, on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Just look for RJ Stevenson, and I'm pretty sure some content is going to show up. I'm the CEO and founder of the Black Excellence Network, or BXTV. It is a new streaming platform that we're glad to premiere. We're doing our best job to get out some content that shows the Black community in an excellent way. Our tagline is finally what we want to see, because I believe we should do our best to be responsible for the imagery that we're putting out in the world on behalf of our community. I also have a website, mychurchcangrow.com. If your church or ministry is interested in some growth dynamics and some growth strategy, some discipleship and evangelism training, me and my team can come alongside your church, nonprofit organization, or your ministry and give you some insights to help you build and grow. That's mychurchcangrow.com. And you can find me on rjstevenson.com. To find out all the interesting, wacky, and crazy things I have going on in my everyday life.
Oh, His Excellence.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much. Thank you so much. Oh, please make sure that you tune in on Thursday. It's the second Thursday. You know what that means? Coffee Chat with Deborah and Carol. And our topic this Thursday is going to be educators. Educators. So please tune in 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We haven't been on a while because those second Thursdays fell during the men and boys conference and the educational symposium. So we missed out for 2 months, but we are back and we are ready. So please tune in Thursday. Remember, all of you who follow us constantly, that this year, not only are we talking about that blueprint for success, but we are also declaring Jeremiah 29:11 over all your lives, because you know that God knows the plans that he has for you, and he wants what? If you follow me, you know what it is. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. He wants you to have prosperity, not disaster. And he also wants you to have the plans that you hope for. So please design your blueprints for success based on the plans that God has given you. Put in the work. You got to put in the work and build your best lives. And remember, building your best lives is our business. That's not a slogan, it's our commitment. Thank you again, RJ, for tuning in. I look forward to having you back.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Look forward to
don't ignore my name when you see it come up, pop up.
it. Please call. Please call.
All right. Don't go anywhere. Okay. Thank you so much. And I'll be looking for you on Thursday. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.